Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, welcome to our video. Here, I and my friends from Group 3 will research some material about attitude assessment development. But first, let me introduce the member of Group 3. The first member is me, Gemintang Cinta Winarko with ID number 4101420070. The second member is Aulia, Syifa, Annisa with ID number 4101420086. The third member is Siti, Malihatus, Saniyah with ID number 4101420114. And the last member is Sofiana, Nurul, Islami with ID number 4101420123. So now let us to review the material. The first material is about attitude assessment concept. Green et al. Defines attitude as a collection of results of a person's evaluation of a particular object, person, or problem. According to Cosmere, there are three learning models in order to form attitudes. The three models are observing and imitating, receiving reinforcement, and receiving verbal information. According to Muhajirin, attitude is a tendency to like or dislike a social object. Meanwhile, according to experts, a person's attitude can predict change if someone already has a high level of cognitive mastery. Assessment is the application of various methods and the use of various assessment tools to obtain information about the extent to which student learning outcomes or student competency, a series of abilities are achieved. Attitude assessment is an assessment carried out to determine students' attitude towards subject, learning condition, educators, and so on. Opham said that attitude assessment determines one's learning success. A student who has no interest or character towards certain subject, it will be difficult to achieve complete learning to the fullest. David, in his book Taxonomy of Educational Objective, Affective Tuning, attitude assessment is a relative assessment. The next is purpose of attitude assessment. To place students in appropriate teaching and learning situation according to the level of achievement and abilities and characteristics of students. 1. The importance of attitude assessment. In general, all subjects have three objective domains. The three core domains are cognitive ability enhancement, improvement of affective abilities, and improvement of skill related to various subjects in a subject. 2. Attitudes and subjects that need to be assessed. First is attitude towards subject. Second is attitude towards subject teachers. Third is attitude towards the learning process. Fourth, attitudes toward the material from the existing topics. Fifth, attitudes are related to certain values that students want to instill in students through a subject. And the last is attitudes are related to affective competencies across curriculum. 3. Attitude measurement. Attitude measurement can be done in several ways. These methods include behavioral observation, direct question, personal report, and attitude scale.
Next is the component of attitude assessment. According to Walgito, attitude assessment contains three components. There are affective or emotional, cognitive or conceptual, and quantitative or behavioral or action component. First, the affective component is the feeling that the person has or his assessment of an object. Second is the cognitive component, is a person's belief about object. And the last is the quantitative component, is the tendency to behave or act in certain ways with regard to the percentage of the attitude object.
Okay, next is the techniques of attitude assessment. Attitude assessment development can be carried out with various appropriate techniques. So the following will describe 3 techniques that can be used to measure student attitudes. The first technique is behavioral observation. Observation technique is an assessment technique that is carried out through observation of object using the sense, either directly or indirectly. This technique is based on a person's behavioral tendencies in doing something. This behavioral observation technique can be done in 2 ways, namely directly and indirectly. In the direct observation technique, the teacher will carry out direct observation assessment to students without the intermediary of other people. While in indirect observation, the teacher will ask for help from others in the observation he makes. Such assistance can come from other teachers, parents, or school employees. So in conducting behavioral observation techniques, the teacher will use an observation guide instrument in the form of rating scale accompanied by a rubric or checklist. The observation instrument contains a number of behavioral indicators that become a reference for teachers in observing the behavior of their students. In addition, this behavioral observation technique can also use a special notebook containing events related to the student he observed while at school. So, in the special notebook will become a useful diary for assessing and recording student attitudes and can be used for material for assessing student development as a whole. The observation obtained by the teacher can be used as feedback in coaching learning. So, the next technique is direct question. This direct question technique can also refer to as an interview technique with students. This direct question technique can measure students' attitude regarding something. The teacher will conduct an attitude assessment during the interview. This physical assessment is obtained from the answer and reaction shown by students during the interview process. In the technique of direct question, there are 2 types of interview that can be used as an attitude assessment, namely guided interview and unguided interview. For the guided interview are often also referred to as structured interview or systematic interview. Meanwhile, the unguided interviews are often also referred to as simple interviews or unsystematic interviews or also free interviews. The next technique is personal report. This technique personal report technique is carried out by asking students to make a review containing their views or response on a problem. The teacher will conduct an attitude assessment by looking at the students' tendencies in giving views on the given problem.
Okay, next, we will talking about the example. First is the example of Journal of Spiritual Attitude Development. There is the identity of students, name, class or semester, date, and subject. And then in the table, there are 5 statements. Number 1 is pray before and after doing something. Number 2, give thanks for God's gift. Number 3, greet before and after giving opinion or presentation. Number 4, express admiration verbally and in waiting for God when he sees the greatness of God. Number 5, feel the existence and greatness of God while studying science. And there are 4 score, 1, 2, 3, and 4. To hide the score, we use the scale from 1 to 4. Number 2 is Journal of Social Attitude Development. In this indicator is honest. There is same. There is the identity of students, and there are 5 statements with score 1 to 4. Number 1 is don't cheat on exams or tests or assignments. Number 2, do not plagiarize in doing every test. Number 3, express something to something as it is. Number 4, report data or information as it is. Number 5, admit your mistakes or shortcomings. To hide the score is the same way with number 1. And the third is the example of Journal of Social Attitude Development with the indicator responsibility. There are 5 statements with statement yes or no. Number 1 is come to class on time. Number 2, collect the assignment on time. Number 3, doing the assignment that have been given. Number 4, orderly in following the lesson. And number 5, join the practicum according to the specified steps. For answer yes, there is scored 1. And for answers no, there's scored 0. Okay, there are from our group. Sorry if there's a mistake. And thank you. See you in the next video. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.